of July at the Fresh Hope Evangelical Ministry in Bo, Sayama Highway at 10 a.m. Burial at the Slbc Cemetery, Bo. The 40th ceremony for Gloria Army Commander Allen Esquire, who died on the 6th of June, and Mariama Yeloma Commander, who died on the 15th of May, formerly of Ogu Pipeline, Upper Allentown. There will be a vigil service on Saturday, 19th of July at Sayama Town, Kori Chiefdom Member District. A memorial service will be held on Sunday, the 20th of July at the UMC Calvary Church, Sayama. May their souls continue to rest in perfect peace. The day took place on the 7th of July of Deputy Superintendent of Police Ruben Thompson, District Traffic Officer of the Harbour Police Station, aged 56. He is survived by his wife, Mrs. Adama Baby Thompson, children Josephine, Prince, Hannah, and Ruben Jr. Thompson, Pa Brahma Kamara and Abubakar Suma, brothers Michael Thompson, Mohammed Bundu, and Lahai Lawrence Lima, sisters Deborah Thompson of the Sierra Leone Police, and Rugat Ularai Koroma in the USA. Several in-laws, relatives, and friends at home and abroad include the Inspector General of Police, William Fayaselu, Director of Traffic, Commissioner Abdul Moiguer, the Traffic Division, and the entire Sierra Leone Police Force. A vigil will be held on Saturday, the 19th of July at the Bishop Campbell AME Church, 7 Ross Road at 7 p.m. The body will be laid out on Sunday, the 20th of July at his residence, 13A Cam Drive, Devil Freetown at 10 a.m. and at the Bishop Campbell AME Church at 12 noon, followed by funeral and communion service at 2 p.m. Burial at the Kisi Road Cemetery. Sympathizers may call on mobile numbers 076 643 or 077 647 933.
Jesus King, when I was sinking down, when I was sinking down.
The day took place on Tuesday, the 8th of July, of Mr. Wilsworth Sylvester Morgan, commonly known as Junior Morgan of Hillcourt Road Garage, aged 43. Funeral arrangements will be announced later. Sympathizers may call at 84 Sheriff Drive, Regent Road, Lumley, or call on 076 682 750 or 034 001 582. May his soul rest in peace.
It's a pleasant morning and welcome to News coming to you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation on Channel 31. I am Esther Susanette Bassi. Coming up, a World Bank report reveals huge losses in the agricultural sector in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone commits to GONAT's declaration, which calls for proper management of natural resources in fragile and transition states. And government and development partners validates the Global Compact for Migration and the National Implementation Plan documents. Well, these stories and more, including our segment, are all lined up in this edition of the news. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and now for our first story. A World Bank report on Sierra Leone's agricultural sector risk assessment has revealed that approximately $128 million, or 3.5% of the country's GDP, is estimated to be the value of average annual agricultural losses resulting from unmanaged production risks in Sierra Leone. These findings came out at the launch of the report by the World Bank in Freetown. Ibrahim Samoa tells us more.
This is hereby launched the Sierra Leone Agricultural Sector Risk Assessment Report.
According to the report findings, the estimate of production losses suggests that the agricultural sector is vulnerable to losses exceeding 15% of agricultural gross production value in 1 out of every 3 years on average due to unmanaged risks, pointing out rice followed by cassava were the two crops mostly vulnerable to production risks in relation to total losses. Adetunde Oredip is the senior agriculture economist, World Bank.
The frequency of certain things happening and the kind of loss that this can generate, and in terms of both tonnage and the value of such losses. So rice come number one at risk. And if our number one food item in the country is at risk, then we can say the system needs some help.
This report was compiled by the World Bank with extensive analysis of crop and livelihood production, rice, and meteorological data records between 2003 to 2022. The findings were intended to support government in the development of a risk management action plan and for disaster risk financing investments. The report assessed the production, market, and the enabled environmental risks in the country's agriculture sector. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Dr. Henry Musa Parker, accepted the findings captured in the report, noting with his engagement with farmers across the country, cited those risks as a major challenge to them and the sector.
We are beginning to take concrete steps, some of them head-on, to the challenges that have been identified. So in our strategy, we've been very much keen not to do everything. So we prioritize a few things. We have also, for some of these value chains, identified hubs where we want government to put and concentrate investments in infrastructure. By the way, this will be both a production or market risk that I often see, and I see this all the time. I have seen farmers in these 2 years, or even the 5 years I've been in the States, they will start really enthusiastically, start with, like, say, 5 hectares of production. Do well, hit the average, and then above average, and then time comes for them to push it to market. They don't have the road, they don't have the storage. Well, first of all, it comes to harvest, they have a problem with that.
The World Bank country manager, Abud Mwangej, underscored the need to continue the conversations to addressing and manage risks identified by the report affecting the agricultural sector and leveraging on research and data. Series of recommendations were preferred, not limited to expanding and enhance early warning systems and climate information system, promote sustainable water management adapted to farming systems, encouraging private sector involvement, and strengthen the development and distribution systems for improved seed varieties, among others. Ibrahim Samara, Freetown.
The International Organization for Migration, IOM, with the government of Sierra Leone and development partners, have validated the Global Compact for Migration, GCM, and the National Implementation Plan, NIP. The validation coincided with the establishment of a national coordination mechanism following extensive consultations and expert reviews. Kenema reports.
So on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs, on behalf of MOPED, MLGCA, and that of MOES, we want to endorse this document and to tell you that, yes, it's an inflection of our voices, and indeed, we are grateful. Thank you so much.
After a series of technical reviews and stakeholder consultations, the Global Compact for Migration, GCM, and the National Implementation Plan, NIP documents have been officially validated. The validation ceremony, which coincided with the establishment of a national coordination mechanism, was to create a clear roadmap for effective execution of the said documents. The move marks a significant milestone in Sierra Leone's commitment to promoting safe, orderly, and regular migration. Officer in charge, IOM, Pauline Machaya, said the NIP and NCM are strategic blueprints to the benefit of migration while addressing its challenges. She said both documents align with national development priorities, regional frameworks, and international commitments in ensuring that no one is left behind.
Today's validation meeting marks a significant milestone in translating this global commitment into concrete nationally owned actions that are tailored to respond to the migration issues in Sierra Leone, but also to foster national and international cooperation with our partners on migration management.
Deputy Development Secretary, Ministry of Planning and Economic Development, Osman Cherry Conte, emphasized the importance of inclusive migration strategies and the need for coordinated action across all relevant sectors, adding that the NCM will serve as a multi-sectoral platform for regular dialogue, policy formulation, and program monitoring.
Today's validation, therefore, is not a routine exercise. It is a pivotal step forward in ensuring that our commitments under the Global Compact are translated into actionable programs, measurable outcomes, and institutionalized mechanisms for governance.
The validated implementation plan outlines key priorities including migrant rights, migration data systems, and the protection of vulnerable migrants. With the roadmap now in place, stakeholders say the next steps will focus on resource mobilization, capacity building, and sustained interagency coordination. The successful validation of the GCM National Implementation Plan and National Coordination Mechanism represents a vital step in ensuring that migration contributes positively to Sierra Leone's development goals. For SLBC, Kenema reporting.
To bridge the divide, CSOs and security sectors, the UNDP and its partners have ended a 3-day engagement in Freetown on strengthening civil society engagement with the security sector. According to the UNDP's governance team lead, Kadijumu, there has been a missing link between CSOs and the security sector. Moses Conte now reports.
According to the UNDP's governance team lead, Kadijumu, there are no civil society working with the security sector, neither are those to hold the security sector to account, adding that the essence was to bridge the gap between the civil society organizations and the security sector.
So the role of civil society, what it would be, and also the role of the security sector, how they work together to ensure we have a peaceful Sierra Leone. So we are hoping that at least they'll be designing programs that will look at how we can hold the security sector to account, how we can build trust between the communities and the security sector, what sort of structures and mechanisms to put in place to ensure accountability, right? So if a soldier or a police does something, who do we hold to account?
According to Mohamed Yoki, representing the Ministry of Internal Affairs, civil society organizations play a vital role in society. Thus, CSOs should not only be considered as beneficiaries, but equal partners in the security sector, adding that security policy should not be developed in isolation. During the engagement, participants were taken through security sector's reforms and governance processes, the role of CSOs in security sector reforms and governance in Sierra Leone, looking at the correctional service and the transition of the Sierra Leone police into police service. Participants called the engagement timely while pointing out that beside their key roles to complement government, they also serve as intermediaries between the people and government. They call on authorities to allow civil society organizations to feel free in doing their work effectively and efficiently.
When it comes to the watchdog role, that's where the challenge is. And as civil society organization, it's our role to play the watchdog role and to be effective and efficient, to ensure that the right thing is done in the interest of the state. This empowers us more to understand that nobody's above the law in doing our work. Accountability also was mentioned. That is the responsibility of all sectors to give account of what they are doing, and they should do it in a transparent way and efficient way.
The training aimed at addressing conflict prevention and crisis management, security sector reform and human rights, electoral support and democratic transitions, while strengthening ECOWAS peace and training institutions, among others. Moses Conte, SLBC.
The president for the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, Dr. George Donko, has met with the ECOWAS chairman, President Julius Maada Bio, at State House. The talks focused on key regional issues on economic growth, food security, education and trade. Our State House correspondent, Hamusui, now reports.
Dr. George Donko is in Sierra Leone on a 2-day working visit. His delegation has already held meetings with several ministries, including the Office of the Chief Minister. At State House, President Julius Maada Bio warmly welcomed the team. He said the region needs support not only in infrastructure, but also in schools, healthcare, and food systems.
I know there are outstanding areas, there are outstanding issues, but we want to deepen this relationship because as your resource base broadens and as we push for more regional integration, there are opportunities that we want to take advantage of. So I'm happy that you've come, and I hope that we'll be able to identify specific things and engage fully and stay engaged through the Minister of Finance, Development, and the others, so that we can fully realize the scope of issues that we are going to raise.
President Bio encouraged the ECOWAS Bank team to work closely with all member states to deliver meaningful change.
Because it is the only dividend for democracy is development. If you can deliver on development, your people can see it. We want to campaign from that for the future of our children and for West Africa. The potential is great, but the potential is not what counts. It's what you do with the potential. And the bank is a great instrument in changing that potential to deliverables for our people, which is what they feed on.
Dr. Donko congratulates President Bio on his role as ECOWAS chair. He praised the president's leadership and vision for regional integration. He assured the ECOWAS Bank's commitment to supporting projects, especially in education and health.
We are aware of the road project, that is the National Road Infrastructure Fund. We are aware of the Hotel. We are aware of the various initiatives being initiated by the Minister for Tourism. as you are very much aware, Your Excellency, next year you will be boosting the ECOWAS. Because you have a big responsibility to ensure that we have the requisite infrastructure to support these programs. And that is why we are here. We are also aware of the Konu University, as the Chief Minister mentioned in our meeting. We have gone far, but there are a few things that we have to discuss in order to actually conclude this. And I think that the working sessions will see to that. Because of your time, we really want to actually bore you with all these issues since the ministers are around. But I want to assure you that all this is taken on board during our 2 days here to ensure that we come out with firm conclusions on all these issues, on all these initiatives.
Dr. Donko is serving a second 5-year term as president and board chair of the ECOWAS Bank. He was reappointed in February 2024 for his strong leadership and successful reforms. Under his tenure, the bank has recorded major gains in development finance across the sub-region. For Slbc TV News Hour in Freetown, I must be reporting from State House.
That was a key meeting for Sierra Leone and the ECOWAS region. Now, the civil society movement against tuberculosis has taken a bold step towards strengthening Sierra Leone's pandemic response systems by convening a national consultative meeting for the development and validation of an advocacy brief on pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. The meeting in Freetown brought together civil society leaders, district representatives, and health advocates to shape a people-centered approach to future health emergencies. Jonathan Tona reports.
The initiative was aimed at amplifying the voices of key affected populations and civil society organizations by enhancing their inclusion in national pandemic prevention, preparedness platforms and processes. It emphasizes gender inclusion, community participation, and health awareness, particularly in the context of emerging threats such as Mpox, which has already recorded nearly 4,500 confirmed cases in Sierra Leone within the past 6 months. Executive Director of CIMAT, Reverend Paul Braima Bangura, underscored the urgent need to address weaknesses in the country's health infrastructure.
In every decision making, that communities are involved, CSOs are involved, key affected populations are actually involved. So the essence of the policy brief actually is addressing inclusivity, of all the affected community. Because when we have pandemic, it starts with community and it ends with community. So it's very good that we have them involved in all of the processes that our government will be doing in terms of pandemic preparedness.
Participants shared regional perspectives on community involvement and systematic barriers.
Now the challenge we are having is the vaccination, because when the vaccination we are earlier brought, they said only for health people. And if you see, yes, indeed they are the health people, they are the first person to take this vaccine. But we also have another sector which are very important in the community that needed this vaccination. So we are just asking that the government should have a saying in it, or have something to do so that the vaccination can be available in our communities.
We are seeing some kind of level of involvement of community people. You saw a cross-section of CSOs here giving a brief updates about their involvement in the fight against, of Mpox, so which I think is very key, and it's impactful from the community that they are engaging, they are doing robust engagement with communities, across the district to ensure that we fight Mpox in our district. So it's impactful so far, if I can say, from there.
Key policy recommendations include integrate inclusion into the National Action Health Plan 2025 to 2029, embedding gender, human rights, and community participation, advance gender equality, and promote human rights and social justice through protections against stigma, discrimination, and violations in health emergency responses. The final version of the advocacy brief will be submitted to government bodies, development partners, and international stakeholders for consideration and implementation, reinforcing for a more equitable, prepared, and people-centered health response systems in Sierra Leone.
For SLBC News, Jonathan Turner reporting.
The Judiciary of Sierra Leone has announced the death of Honorable Justice Dr. Abubakar Bine Kamara, J.A., a respected appeal court judge who passed on at the age of 54. He was appointed to the High Court in 2017 and had recently been elevated to the Court of Appeal in May 2025, following unanimous parliamentary approval. A legal scholar and educator, Justice Bine Kamara served as the head of department and first dean of the Faculty of Law at Slbc College, where he led transformative reforms to align legal education with human rights and democratic values. He was widely respected for his work in land, property and environmental law, and authored several influential legal publications, including papers on constitutionalism and ECOWAS governance frameworks. Until his death, he was pursuing a PhD in law, specializing in constitutionalism, political philosophy, and media law. Following a praise and review session, the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice has released over 50 inmates from the Makeni Correctional Center. Hassan Fue Kamara reports. In Freetown, Magistrate Mustafa Ibrahim Ajar of Pademba Road, Magistrates Court No. 1, has sent the case of IGP versus Samuel Lamin and 2 others for trial at the High Court of Sierra Leone. Sulaiman Babature now reports.
The ruling of Magistrate Mustafa Ibrahim Ajar of Court No. 1, Pademba Road, came after months of investigations, submissions, and defense between the prosecutor and the defense lawyer. The 3 accused persons, manager of Voice of Peace and Development Community Radio, Joseph Mendel Lamin, and his co-accused persons, Molai Kamara and Omar Timbo, according to Magistrate Mustafa Ibrahim Ajar, were committed for trial at the High Court because he was convinced that the prosecution presented sufficient claim for the matter to be tried at the High Court. Though the defense lawyer, Musa Beiti, filed for a no-case submission, stating that the prosecution failed to produce witnesses or forensic evidence to link the accused persons to the murder, Magistrate Mustafa Ibrahim Ajar, however, said the matter was just a preliminary investigation and that it was left with the High Court to prove it beyond all reasonable doubts. In another matter, an entertainer, Michael Williams, testified before Magistrate Mustafa Ibrahim Ajar on the high-profile assault case involving the Ambassador of Entertainment and Investment, Caldenero, and his associates, accused of attacking Frederick Peters, popularly known as Famous, on the 22nd of February 2025 during a concert staged by Linda Samai, also known as Tazi. Michael Williams, witness for the prosecution, said he accompanied Famous to the event on the said day and said upon entering, they met one of Caldenero's associates who bumped onto Famous but was ignored. Williams said while they were waiting at the poolside, Caldenero and his team aggressively approached them and Cal instructed his men to pepper spray Famous and himself, which led to a loss of his phone and burning of Famous' eyes. He added that Stasi apologized to Famous. Tendering photo evidence before the court, defense counsel Zakaria objected that the photos on the phone were taken on the 6th of June, whereas the incident took place in February 2025. The prosecution replied that the phone with pictures had been submitted by Famous during his testimony. Upon submissions, Magistrate Mustafa Ibrahim Ajar ruled that the correct phone with the photos be submitted to the court. He then adjourned the matter to the 21st of July 2025. SLBC News, Sulaiman Babature reporting.
The leader of government business has delivered a sincere apology to the leadership of Parliament on what is described as the excesses of some members of the public who felt strongly about certain provisions in the Child Rights Bill 2024, recently passed by Parliament. Dennis Fraser has the details.
We don't live to satisfy them and their masters. We live in this chamber to make sure that we satisfy our people represent.
Addressing the House, Leader of Government Business, Honorable Matthew Sanyuma, said that the issue had to do with the integrity of Parliament and their activities as lawmakers. He stressed that although the provisions of Section 97 of the 1991 Constitution constituted a contempt of Parliament, but will not give an unnecessary credence to the said matter.
We use this Parliament to call the name of the individual. Now we not, because how far I've benefited immensely. I've got a platform from the same Parliament. This Parliament referring to additionally. If you are educated enough, you ought to know better. If you're educated enough, you think we have not done the appropriate thing, read Section 107 of the Constitution, 106 of the Constitution. The bill is still in progress. Mr. Speaker, Honourable Member, I can make reference to cabinet ministers right now. When their issues were in Parliament, they came down to a certain level that even if at that time we told them to wash my feet and drink the water, they will do.
Since the enactment of the Child Rights Bill 2025 in July this year, it has generated much public concerns, particularly on the provision regarding female genital mutilation, which many think was not properly handled. Despite the enormity of the matter, MPs were more concerned about their health and welfare, and we are using Standing Order 23 to inform Mr. Speaker. Leader of the opposition APC, Honorable Abdul Kagbo, also toed the line using Standing Order 74 to make an appeal for their health and welfare, which is said should be prioritized. The acting speaker, Honorable Ibrahim Taha Conte, asked MPs to meet at Committee Room 1 in order to take a resolution on their health and well-being and other matters affecting MPs. Meanwhile, Honorable Alpha Ben Mansari of Mwamba District, who doubles as the Deputy Public Relations Officer of the opposition APC, has called on the Speaker to summon both the Sierra Leone Petroleum Regulatory Authority and the Ministry of Transport to give reasons for the price disparity in transportation, despite reduction in fuel price in the country.
For me, it's unfortunate, and still there is no press release yet from the agency or the authority itself and the Ministry of Transport. So citizens are still paying the same price the government set months back, or almost a year now.
In another development, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Frances Algali, also laid the following agreement in the well between the government of the Republic of Kazakhstan and the government of Sierra Leone on expansion from visa requirements for holders of diplomatic and service passports, agreement under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction. SLBC, Dennis Fraser reporting.
In a bid to enhance women's participation in governance and promote gender equality, the St. George's Foundation, in collaboration with the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs, has conducted a one-day training session for women at Jabex Hall, Tumbu. The training focused on the 3 Gender Acts and the 30% quote outlined in the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act of 2022. Esther Nenekama reports.
Held under the theme Engage Community Women on the 3 Gender Act and the 30% quota on the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act. The training aimed to raise awareness among grassroots women about their rights and the legal frameworks that support their inclusion in national development. Participants were taken through the core provisions of the Jury Act of 2022, with a particular emphasis on the 30% minimum quota for women's representation in public life, including leadership roles in politics, governance, and the workforce. Assistant Director in the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs, Fode Mohamed Sisse, said the training was part of the government's ongoing efforts to empower women at community level to understand and claim their rights under the law.
Making sure that people understand when you talk about gender budgeting, how to mainstream gender, how people to ensure that they think and plan gender in whatever they do. So basically, in summary, all right, This was what I presented in my presentation of the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act, because it's very important for our women folks to understand what are those key provisions that are in the act. So,
Programs Manager, St. George Foundation, Aruna Mansaye, said community-level engagement was crucial in breaking cultural barriers and promoting gender equality.
By bringing these women together, that sounds great because it's an eye-opener, I said, that it will give more knowledge to the women on their sense of responsibility and for them to come forward to compete. It's not like a huge competition with the men, but there is a 30% quota for women, and the women should occupy that 30% quota in their structures within the communities.
Participants expressed appreciation for the knowledge gained, promising to cascade the information to other women in their communities. Organizers said similar trainings will continue across different parts in the country to build a critical mass of empowering women ready to advocate for and claim their rightful place in society.
We are watching News Hour coming from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation on Channel 31. We continue with more stories. The African Human Capital Development Plus, in collaboration with the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, has hosted an education advocacy dinner in Kono District. The engagement, which targeted the Chairman, Kono District Council, Council of Paramount Chiefs, school leaders, and community stakeholders, was intended to reflect on the gains made so far in education in Kono. From Kono District, Dauda Kamala sent us this report.
The Chief Executive Officer, African Human Capital Development Plus, Finda Kuroma, reiterated her organization's mission to support the government in increasing investment in human capital development through better systems, strong institutions, and evidence-based development. She expressed her appreciation to the government for the free education program, which she noted has created massive access to education for children across the country and contributed to breaching the gender parity in basic education. The Human Capital Development Plus CEO told the gathering that Sierra Leone is currently ranked 157 on the Human Capital Index, which she said was not good for the country. Madam Koma called on government and other partners to work with her organization to scale up issues around human capital development. Madam Koma also told the Kono people that ECOWAS has agreed to provide huge amounts of money for the construction of a clinic with modern facilities at the Kono University of Science and Technology and construct a factory that will produce sanitary pads for the girls.
Our mission is to support governments in increasing investments in human capital development through better systems, stronger institutions, and evidence-based development. Education stands at the center of that mission. We know that when a child walks into a classroom, they carry not only a school bag, but the aspirations of the family, a village, and a nation. We commend the government of Sierra Leone for the free quality school education program launched in 2018. It has significantly increased access to education for children across the country.
Launching the Education Advocacy Dinner, Minister of Basic and Secondary Education said the platform has created direct contact points with stakeholders and leaders in education and the district. Colonel Saki said the partnership with the African Human Capital Development on the Made in Advocacy Dinner has triggered feedback from stakeholders and lauded the initiative of the African Human Capital Development Plus for its support towards education in the district. The minister said the government has secured funds to engage school dropouts into the education system. He called on school leaders to support government to strengthen and provide access to education for every child in Sierra Leone.
The Human Capital Development Plus does very well is the use of evidence in decision making and in practice. So that's an area where we have slightly some challenges, and working with them will improve our collaborative efforts. So, for example, she did mention the fact that Sierra Leone does not do very well in some international indicators. I don't think that Sierra Leone doesn't do well. I think we have a challenge reporting the good things that we are doing.
The Regent Chief of Kamawa Chiefdom, Kono District, Charles Kui, also lauded the initiative of the Education Advocacy Dinner and discussing issues of education in the district.
Despite the efforts of government and development partners to ensure regular supply of medicines to government hospitals and clinics, the safety and proper use of these life-saving medical commodities is being compromised by a few individuals within the system. This is according to officials in the Ministry of Health as they lament over the stealing of medicines and other essential facilities from several government health facilities across the country. During a press conference at the Ministry of Health, the Chief Medical Officer, together with other top officials in the ministry, said there have been reports of missing drugs in Pujon, Cambia, and the Princess Christiana Maternity Hospital in Freetown. Here is the Chief Pharmacist, Dr. Moses Batema, speaking at the press conference.
In the recent weeks, the Ministry of Health has received credible reports that some of these supplies have been stolen or misused by a few individuals working within the system. Let us be very straight and clear here. This is a very serious violation of public trust and it puts lives at risk. But the Ministry of Health is already taking action. One major case was reported on the 26th of April from a government hospital in Pujon district. Cartons of government medicines intended for free healthcare were offloaded to an unauthorized location. The police was called and the supplies were later taken into custody at the Bo West police station for further investigation. In addition to this case, we are dealing with similar concerns at other facilities. Cambia Government Hospital, Princess Christian Maternity Hospital. So far, we have recommended the suspension of 3 pharmacy personnel from these 3 facilities. Their details have been reported to appropriate authorities. We have also asked the Pharmacy Board of Sierra Leone, which is the regulatory authority in country, and the Pharmaceutical Society of Sierra Leone to temporarily suspend their professional license until full investigations are completed. Let me say this again in plain terms. Stealing or misusing medicines meant for the public is unacceptable. The Ministry of Health has a zero tolerance policy to actions of this nature. Every time a box of medicine goes missing, someone's child, someone's mother, or a loved one may go without treatment. That is a cost that is too high to bear. The Ministry of Health, through my directorate, is also working very closely with the Sierra Leone Police, the Transnational Organized Crime Unit, TOCO, and the Anti-Corruption Commission to get to the bottom of all of these incidents. We are committed to ensuring that anyone found guilty will face the full force of the law. At the same time, we're not just stopping at punishment. We are also taking this opportunity to strengthen the entire supply chain system. We will strengthen supervision and monitoring in hospitals and district medical stores. We will improve the digital tracking of our commodities so that we always know where our medicines are. We will conduct refresher training for personnel on ethics and accountability. And most importantly, we'll send out reminders, official reminders, through the Permanent Secretary's office to all government health facilities on their responsibilities and the consequences of wrongdoing. We know that most of our pharmacy and healthcare workers are honest and dedicated professionals, but we must remain vigilant. We must act quickly where there is wrongdoing, and we should raise the standards for everyone. So through you, the Fourth Estate, to the public, we need their help too. We're saying to the public, if you see something suspicious happening with government medicines, whether they're in a hospital, in a healthcare center, during delivery, or even in private pharmacies, we say, please report this to us. Your information will help us prevent harm and save lives.
That was Dr. Moses Batema, Chief Pharmacist, Ministry of Health. Following a prison review session, the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice has released over 50 inmates from the Makeni Correctional Center. Hassan Kamara now reports.
So una we dey so una don't be the lucky one them.
Outside the correctional center at Mena Hills in Makeni, inmates were lined up as officers called out their names and issued certificates of freedom.
Mohamed Issa. Superintendent Adrian S. Samura.
I am Superintendent Adrian S. Samura with twice of Makeni Correctional Center. This is a certificate of discharge. This will serve as defense to show that they were legally released. That's why we are issuing them.
Legally. And now that reason that they make could give them these certificates.
The 2IC of the center said their objectives were now rehabilitation, capacity building, and reintegration, adding that over the years, they have been able to make convicted felons valuable assets and meaningful contributors to society. The exercise was described to me as a tradition of the Ministry of Justice, wherein the judiciary through the Chief Justice from time to time institute prison review, a court session held at the prison yards to review sentences ascertained from the lower court by looking at them, assessing their procedures, rules, and regulations. The Legal Aid Board has always provided free legal aid services to indigent persons. Mohamed Alpha Jallo is the regional manager.
Of course, this is a very significant, is a milestone for the judicial system because it helps to serve as an accountability mechanism for the justice sector, and it also helps to relieve at least some suffering that some young guys are having within the prison yard, even though it is, yes, it is justifiable. Their being there is justifiable. But because of other reasons that the wisdom of the judge was looking at, the case that they have, the way they comport themselves, the time that they have spent in the correctional facility, the reformations that they have gone through, 55 of them were able to benefit from the judicial review of this week.
It said the process solidified the judiciary's commitment to accountability and its continued effort to build on the trust and confidence of citizens in the system. These were some of the returning citizens.
I can't take this 13 months here.
I spent 13 months in the center, capacitating myself. I am now specialized in bakery. I have acquired a certificate in community development studies and entrepreneurship.
Well, it be very terrible, but alhamdulillah, because of
it was terrible, but I'm thanking God for the life. I have used the time to reform myself. It was tedious. My word to others is patience. What's for you is for you. If it's not for you, wait for God's time.
They also wait till no say this now for you, now for you. What's not for you? Just patience and wait for God in time.
Honorable A.K. Musa presided over Makeni session. Over 100 cases were reviewed, 55 released, the rest were upheld, reduced, and increased. Similar sessions were also held across the country.
Benjamin Lane has recently become a focal point of concern for both road users and local residents due to the alarming presence of serious potholes. The road's condition has not only caused significant damage to the road itself, but has also created a dangerous situation for vehicles and pedestrians alike. Abubakar Kamara has more on the story.
The Benjamin Lane axis, the designated route for tricycle and bike riders, is in a very deplorable condition. The road is completely depleted with potholes, making the situation worse when it rains. The present state of the road has major effect on motorists who ply this alternative route on a daily basis. They said the road's present condition makes their vehicles vulnerable to mechanical problems. Abubakar Kamara, a keke rider, said the potholes damage their vehicles, including bent rims and flat tires, all resulting in costly repairs.
This particular road they use, so the road is well.
We have always appealed to the government to fix the road, as the condition of the road sometimes damage our machines, and we normally pay a lot of cash to get it fixed.
Mohamed Mansare, a bike rider, said they frequently clash with their passengers who accuse the riders of being reckless when plying the route.
Well, Benjamin Lane, the condition is very bad. Very bad, really.
The Benjamin Lane Road is really not good for us as bike riders. Sometimes the passengers on board also suffer due to the condition of the road.
Yeah, bike man, they suffer now. Passenger, they suffer. All man, they suffer.
A resident in the area who also serves as the Fuller Chief for Constituency 126, Chief Alhaji Abubakar Jallo, said he has also been affected as his home is close by. He raised concerns with regard the closure of PWD, a construction company which was a major support in repairing nearby roads like Benjamin Lane and others.
We been get PWD in this country. When I did for maintenance or road, but they close them all over the country.
Since the closing of PWD Construction Company, we have encountered serious challenges about the potholes, and we really need the government to help repair the road.
So make government come and can do this job hastily, quick as possible, because it inconvenience everybody in the community, in the area.
The swift intervention of authorities concerned is the major cry by the residents and motorists who rely on this route on a daily basis, as its present condition poses a significant threat to the safety and well-being of both road users and local residents. SLBC News, Abubakar Kamara reporting.
Pike Street, a vital road in Brookfields community, has become increasingly hazardous due to the rapid increase of serious potholes. These depressions in the road surface have not only damaged the infrastructure, but have also posed significant risks to road users, including motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians. Abubakar Kamara again.
Over the past several months, the condition of Pike Street has deteriorated significantly. The potholes, some measuring over a foot in diameter and several inches deep, have emerged as a result of fluctuating weather conditions, inadequate maintenance, and wear and tear from heavy traffic. These road defects have created a perilous environment for all types of road users, and motorists are particularly affected, facing not only the risk of vehicle damage but also potential accidents. Mahmoud Kamara and Amidou Ansumana are both bike riders, and they reported that due to the serious potholes in the streets, it is difficult for them to have a smooth ride, whether with passengers or when riding alone.
Specifically with the stream body road, because the road get gallop.
We normally pay to SLRA for them to fix the roads, and because they always fail to fix them, it becomes strenuous for us bike riders.
Even some road they use in back bad, we get gallop day.
The Pike Street Road is so bad and it has so many potholes and has affected our health.
Alhaji Sise and Musa Bannister are both keke and bike riders. Also spoke about the damage their machines get when using the Pike Street to and fro with either their bikes and keke, and the presence of potholes has led to increased travel times as they try to avoid them, contributing to congestion and frustrating on what should be a straightforward route.
A lot of we now they use
And the road is really bad.
The Pike Street Road is really vital to us. So instead of using other routes, we like using the Pike Street Road, and it is really bad for us.
You let the government help we that side for them.
Well, the road is very, very narrow because it's not comfortable for we.
The road is too narrow and it's not comfortable for us as well. And this has made our bikes to get many issues. Sadly, nobody is showing any concern about this road.
One policeman in the blocks on road, so they can pass to manage and work.
The serious potholes at Pike Street represent a pressing issue that affects the safety and well-being of all road users. SLBC News, Abubakar Kama reporting.
Well, away from there, let's move over to our sports desk for some latest updates.
Thank you very much. In this edition of the update, we look at a wave of condemnation has engulfed Sierra Leone's football community following a violent incident at Woson Free Stadium in Makini, where sport journalist Alusagemi Wilson was assaulted during post-match interviews. Well, the fallout has prompted sharply stakeholders including the Sierra Leone Premier League Board, Woson Stars, and the Sports Writers Association of Sierra Leone, each offering contracting narratives on the crisis. Here's the report.
On March 30th, 2025, Sierra Leone football fraternity was shaken by a disturbing act of violence at Woson Stadium in Makini during post-match interview following a league fixtures involving Woson Stars Football Club. Journalist Alusayemi Wilson was physically attacked by individuals believed to be supporters of the home team. The assault occurred in full view of spectators and officials, prompting journalists and referees to flee the venue for their safety. The incident has sparked widespread outrage, raising questions about the safety and professionalism of football coverage in the country. Woson Stars Football Club issued a statement distancing itself from the attack, expressing regrets and condemning the violence. The club pledged to cooperate with authorities to identify the perpetrators. However, critics described the statement as defensive, noting the absence of a direct apology to Wilson or clear accountability. The Sierra Leone Premier League Board reaffirmed its commitment to discipline and safety at league venues. In its statements, the board condemned all forms of violence and promised swift sanctions against those responsible, while acknowledging the March 30 incident. Premier League Board stopped short of naming specific individuals, instead emphasizing outgoing investigations and calling for collective responsibilities among clubs, referees and fans. This approach drew criticism from observers, including Swasal, who accused the board of issuing vague condemnation while sidestepping concrete action. The Sports Writers Association of Sierra Leone Swasal issued the most forceful response. In a series of press releases, the action outlined clear demands: a full investigation into the assault on Alusayemi Wilson, guarantee safety for sport journalists covering Premier League matches, accountability from Football Authority for protecting media personnel. For SLBC Sports, Mohamed Lamitu reporting.
And now in the international scene, right back Usman Kake joins FC Kouessi. First League club FC Kouessi has signed Sierra Leone defender Usman Kake on a free transfer. But that's all I have time for in this edition of the update. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Mohamed Lamitu, and goodbye.
Many thanks to our sports desk for that update. Now to end the news, the main points again. A World Bank report on Sierra Leone's agricultural sector risk assessment has revealed that approximately $128 million, or 3.5% of the country's GDP, to be lost resulting from unmanaged production risks. Sierra Leone has committed to the GONAT Declaration's pledge to take the lead with other partner organizations and member countries in Africa in managing their natural resources. This commitment came at the end of a 4-day symposium in Freetown on illicit natural resource trade and resource bank loan. And the International Organization for Migration, IOM, with the government of Sierra Leone and development partners, have validated the Global Compact for Migration and National Implementation Plan. The validation coincided with the establishment of a national coordination mechanism following extensive consultations and expert reviews. Well, that's how we wrap up this morning edition of News App from the SLBC. I am Esther Slbc. Up next is our Good Morning Sierra Leone program. Continue to stay good.
How to send money overseas using AfriMoney and BNB. Dial *161#. Select option 1. Go to option 6 for overseas money. Press 1 for BNB. You'll see the list of countries you can send to. Enter receiver's full name. Enter the receiver's phone number. Enter the amount you want to send. Enter your PIN to confirm. You will receive an SMS confirming your transaction. Terms and conditions applied.
Do you know the TV show that brings to you the decision makers who determine and shape the country's policies and programs? Bottom Line is the show to watch.
Well, join Asmi Uba as it brings to the table movers and shakers of society and policymakers whose decisions have direct impact on your lives.
Bottom Line comes up every Thursday at 7 p.m. on SLBC TV, Channel 31, with Asmi Uba.
Bottom Line on SLBC TV, the program you can't afford to miss on SLBC TV, Channel 31. Join me now.
The show that touches every aspect of society as we leave no stone unturned.
It's Bottom Line, only on SLBC TV. Do you know the TV show that brings...
From my broadcasting now studio at New Englandville in Freetown, this is how welcome you to your breakfast program. Good morning, Sierra Leone. Reaching you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation television on Channel 31. Today happens to be Thursday, 17th day in July 2025. And of course, this program starts your day with analysis and divergence of views on news and current affairs happenings in the country. I'm your presenter, Dennis Fraser. Our quote of the day this morning is from a Greek author, Ascop, and it says the level of our success is limited only by our imagination. And as always, that's certainly food for thought. As you imagine it, so shall it work for you. Coming up in the program this morning, Independent Media Commission is currently consulting with stakeholders to review the IMC Act. We shall be talking to the winner of the Chevron Engineer Leadership STEM event and Sierra Leone chapter of the Holiness Revival Movement Youth and Campus Fellowship to organize its maiden National Youth Conference. All these issues will be dealt with in the next hour of the program. This is Good Morning Sierra Leone. Welcome back. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone, reaching you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation television on Channel 31. And of course, you can catch up with us live on our Facebook page at slbc.sl. It's now time for us to usher in our guests. And for that, we have a panel this morning, and of course, on one of our headlines stories, which happens to do with the consultation with stakeholders by IMC to review its current act. And as part of their efforts in implementing the Tripartite Recommendation 76, the Independent Media Commission, with support from the European Union through the International Ideas, has held a consultation on the IMC 2022 print regulation in Bo. The Independent Media Commission was established by an Act of Parliament in the year 2000, and the said Act was repealed and replaced by the IMC Act of 2020. Act number 5 of 2020 being an act to provide for the continuation of the Independent Media Commission to provide for the registration and regulation of mass media institutions in Sierra Leone, licensing institutions engaged in radio, television or direct-to-home digital satellite services, and broadcasting and registration of persons and institutions engaged in the publication of newspapers, magazines in Sierra Leone, and to provide for other related matters. Well, in the studio to talk more on this particular important review is the Executive Secretary, Independent Media Commission, Khalil Kalon. Good morning, Mr. Kalon. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Dennis, and good morning, viewer.
Certainly a pleasure to have you. And of course, we are as well joined by the astute Public Relations Officer of the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists in the person of Umubaka. Good morning and welcome, Madam.
Good morning, Dennis, and good morning to viewers.
All right. For obvious reasons, I start with you, of course, Mr. Khalid. Take us head on. Aside from this all-important review doing, let's first of all have a background as to the event you had over the weekend in Bo.
Thank you, Dennis. Given the background of the Independent Media Commission, and in 2020 we had a new mandate, and we have worked with the 2020 mandate, that is the IMC Act of 2020, up to 2025. So it's been 5 years that we have been implementing the new law that was given to IMC. And what were the reasons behind the review of the IMC Act of 2020 itself? Or why did we decide that, or did we decide that in 2020 we needed a new law other than the 2000 Act? We realized that the 2000 Act had a number of lacunae, and it made the IMC more weaker than than a media regulation or regulator could be. So what happened in 2020, following the repeal of Part 5 of the 1965 Public Order Act, Parliament saw it to give IMC some powers of the High Court, so they could make IMC more vibrant in its media regulation. So we had the IMC Act of 2020, and we all anticipated that the act was too powerful to be able to regulate media, and so that we could have sanity in the media landscape across the country. So we have tested this law, we have used it through 2020 to 2025. We have also observed a number of lacunae in the act. So therefore, firstly, our board engagement or regional engagement generally were twofolded. Firstly, we wanted to correct some loopholes that have been observed in the act, which meeting had been held in Freetown in 2024. So we decided now that following the tripartite recommendation, which needed wider consultation on the IMC Act, we solicited funds from the EU through international ideas to go on regional consultation. So we have gone around the country, we have consulted in the Northern region, Northwest, Eastern, and Southern region, which is in Bo. So what are the key themes that we are looking at in our consultation? One, the tripartite recommendations states that IMC Act should be reviewed to look at the appointment of the chairperson to make it more transparent than it is now. And secondly, that the powers of IMC should be reviewed so that IMC can have sufficient powers to enforce its rulings or its media codes or media regulations 2022. And it also talks about the IMC to look at regulation of social media in times of electionary period, so that issues of hate speeches and disinformation, misinformation could be taken on board, and also to provide trainings for media institutions and practitioners. So we have gone around. At IMC, we don't sit in Freetown and make laws. We know the regulations are the act is very clear. In the review of the IMC Act, we have to do it in consultation with the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists, and the minister leads the entire process. So we went to the regions to consult, and now we have had the responses from the regions, and we have come back to Freetown. We will have the Freetown event tomorrow at the new Brookfield Hotel, where we'll have a broad-based consultation on the consultation and validation tomorrow on the responses that we have had and the suggestions that will come from Freetown. So on the issues of appointment of the chairman, to be more transparent, and the commission as it is now, the method of appointing the chairman is this: that the chairman has to be a technocrat, a media practitioner with a wealth of experience for at least 10 years. And the chairman has to be appointed by the president in consultation with the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists. And that appointment is as well subjected to the approval of Parliament. But the recommendation states that that one is not transparent. We need a more transparent process. So we are consulting the people. We have had some views, they are interesting. Now, one of the views are that SLAG should nominate something like 3 people presented to president for appointment. I know the those that made those recommendations are against the president's appointment of the chairman. But that is not easy to change now as it is. It requires constitutional review where those in the media or in the legal field can interpret that better. But appointments, the responsibility of the powers of appointment lies with the presidency. So if we are going to change that, then our minister of information and civic education will have to channel that through the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and the Parliament will decide on that. But as far as we're concerned, we are making we are consulting and taking the responses of the people and the media stakeholders to them, so that they can make the decisions at that level. In the areas of more powers to the IMC for enforcement of its rulings, we have seen that the 2020 Act gave powers to the IMC, but we have observed in the past 5 years that those powers are limited. For instance, when you go back to the Act, sections 14 through sections 15 and 16, it is clear. If IMC wants to suspend or take an action against a media institution or practitioner, the IMC will first have to communicate to the media institution or practitioner. IMC will have to tell them the areas of the laws that they have breached, the actions that they should take to remedy those kinds of things, the time is given to them to remedy the breach, and then the consequences or the actions that the IMC will take, failure to comply with the rulings of the IMC. When all of those things are now exhausted, and that is the only time IMC takes up comes up with its actions. But we have observed that even when IMC takes up those actions, because the Act gives us power to enter a media house, to shut them down.
And that's the point I want us to delve deeper on as we speak. There was the hue and cry around, especially coming from media practitioners, and so far as the 2020 Act is concerned, and they were saying there was this notion that the Act gives enormous power to IMC to really clamp down on media institutions. Without rigors of further investigation, they can just walk into a media house as per their ruling and just close down media houses. And I believe that's not something you're oblivious to.
That is not the case at all. Okay. I can tell you that the powers as they are, IMC have not exercised any power above what is given in the IMC Act of 2020. As they are now, when we have exhausted all of those means, giving them notices, time to comply, when they fail, we now take our actions. And when the IMC suspends you, for instance, you need to remain off the air or you cannot publish. But we have had instances where media institutions, even after the IMC have sanctioned them, they will still go ahead with their publications or with their broadcasts. So now the law states that IMC wants to enforce its rulings, the IMC will now need an order from the courts. And that is when the IMC will walk into a building with a warrant signed by the High Court. So we are saying, or the consultations that we have held, we have observed that people have said, no, IMC should not go to that length again. Because we have not succeeded in the past 5 years, I can tell you. Okay. There were times we suspended media houses, even when those media houses pose threat to the security of this nation. We do not have those powers. Even when we made the applications in courts, we have not succeeded at any point. So that is why when the recommendation talks about powers to enforce its rulings, the recommendations are that, one, IMC should not need to go back to the court. When the IMC had earlier written to the media institution, telling them the areas of the law they have breached, giving them time to comply, and they still fail to comply, the IMC should now walk into those media institutions with the assistance of a police officer, not below the rank of an assistant superintendent, to enforce its rulings. Our sister organizations or institutions have those kinds of laws. So, if something is going on problematic and the IMC impose sanctions and those media institutions or practitioners fail, it will lead to disaster, will breach the peace and all the like. So that is the area of the law that the consultation is saying, no, let the IMC have those powers of enforcement.
We'll talk further on some of these consultations you've been having currently across the country. And of course, I believe that is something Madam Mubaka will want to really shed light on. But just before we move over to her now, in as much as you are having these consultations across the country, what are some of the feedback coming from, media practitioners in general?
Well, the feedback is media practitioners welcome these ideas. In fact, the ideas are coming from them, and extending regulation on the social media platforms. Of course, IMC has been limited because we don't have express provisions in the IMC Act that talks about online media. We only have online media in the interpretation section of the IMC under the definition of media institutions. So what have come up in the fields of consultation is the fact that there is a great need for the extension of regulation to the online media platforms in order to save the country from hate speeches, disinformation, misinformation. And then also in the areas of training, there is this opinion that after IMC has extended those kinds of regulations, there will be need for training of particularly the online space on the IMC regulations and the IMC laws, so that they know how to operate, because a number of them have done things innocently even because of ignorance, because they don't know what actually they are doing, whether those things that they are doing are in breach of the law or not. So it is only when you take them through the IMC regulations that they'll be able to know what is right and what is wrong. So all of those things have come up. Also, there is concern on the complaint committee, because normally when IMC receives complaint committee as provided for in sections 19 of the act itself, the IMC normally issues sanctions or a kind of, well, we don't call it injunction, but we put a hold on publication because the IMC may be investigating the matter. It's not well for somebody that has approached the IMC.
Because many times those injunctions you're talking about, in as much you're not calling them injunctions, they go on ending.
No, not quite, because IMC has a time frame within which it is expected to investigate cases and then will bring out the rulings on those cases, and the sanctions are or the outcomes of our meetings or our arbitrations are made public. So what is currently on is people are now suggesting that there should be express provisions for that, where the IMC can put a hold, because it doesn't augur well if somebody, a citizen, comes up for a smear campaign to say this media house has smeared my campaign, and while the IMC is arbitrating, it will take time. While the IMC is arbitrating, you are still busy, going on with the publication. So those things have now come up that we should have express provisions that speak to that. So at least the media institutions will now know that when the complaints before the IMC, nobody is allowed to comment or continue publication on those matters until the matter is investigated and rulings are made public by the IMC.
Alright, continue still just in the program, and on that particular provision, just take note, we'll come back to one particular said issue now before the complaints committee of the IMC that has to do with Ali Muba and of an associate company limited. And then you talk to us about that briefly. But just a quick one, let's come over now to Madam Umubaka. All attention has been given to this current review of the IMC Act 2020 Act that the IMC, the Parent Commission, Media Commission is currently working on. And I believe that is also a concern for the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists which you represent. Now that the IMC is seeking to really have express provisions, that will give it power to enforce its ruling, will that come really, or leaves room for the excess use of power by the Commission in the perspective of SLAJ?
Well, as an association, we are not against the laws of IMC and neither the existence of IMC, because SLAJ, the commissioners of IMC, most of them are members of SLAJ. SLAJ is part of the process of ensuring that the IMC has competent commissioners. That is why, according to the Act, the media people are being nominated by SLAJ, and thankfully the last 3 years, all those that were nominated by SLAJ were approved were appointed by President and approved by Parliament. And SLAJ has continued to work with IMC as partners, ensuring that we build the media so that we get a media that we all be proud of. SLAJ has continued to partner with IMC in terms of developing the media. But even though there are certain issues, like when they were doing some consultation in terms of There people were saying that the IMC should register journalists. Sludge was against that. It's not as if Sludge is against the work of the IMC, because it is because of journalists that the IMC was put together, so that it becomes a body that will be able to, censor. We want Sludge journalists to be self-censored, even though instead of journalists being taken to court, instead of journalists being taken to other places, we have a body, a professional body that looks at issues of journalists or media in the country. So we are not actually against them, and all the consultations, Sludge has always been there. Okay. Even the one that was held in the regions last week, the president-elect of Sludge was there. He took part, he saw, he was part of, the people. So it's a process that Sludge belongs to, and that is why when, during the validation process, Sludge seizes the opportunity to ensure that we raise concerns on areas that we are not comfortable with, so that at the end of the day, because when the laws come out, the laws are for the journalists. So we want to ensure that the laws we have in the IMC are laws that do not infringe on the rights of journalists.
All right, the laws are for journalists. The laws are really meant, to regulate the media, or to supervise the media, so to speak. But in as much as that's the case, but we also saw the hue and cry when the 2020 Act was enacted, and we saw how many media practitioners were really jittery on certain provisions, especially the ones that has to do with requirements for someone to really own a media establishment or a publication center or whatnot. All of these came at the backdrop of when the Act has been enacted. Now that you have the EV process, have you been, sounding some of the views of media practitioners, or have you been, going to them to really sort their views on some of the things they have issues with before taking a position?
Now, the journalists have been invited in the review process, and that is where we add our voice. We expect our colleagues to bring up the issues we all should discuss. Okay. Mind you, it's a consultation process, and the IMC is doing this consultation so that at the end of the day, our voices are heard, our concerns are being looked into. So it's not like Sludge cannot say we need to do a special consultation, because it will take a lot. As an association, we cannot do everything. That's why we're working with IMC to ensure that when these reviews are done, colleagues are there, the president of Sludge, the secretary general, people who can, we are elected to represent journalists. And that is why wherever we are, we ensure that we represent the interests of our colleagues. So in as much as we know everything will not be agreed on, but we also hope that the concerns raised during this process, Parliament will look at them, the IMC will be able to, have laws that will be in the interest of journalists, because at the end of the day, the laws will help to make or break the media. And we don't want that situation. We want laws that will help to make the media and not to break the media.
Now, you are the mouthpiece of this enviable association, and of course, you speak the heart and soul of media practitioners, journalists. In as much as some of the provisions, as in the tripartite recommendation, is talking about hate speech and using social media platforms to share some of those across the country, this does not really hinge on journalists, but maybe bloggers. Do you really see how best you can really come in to ensure that some of these provisions that they are looking into really find way to factor in journalists?
Well,
because there are a lot of journalists who have their media spaces online, they have media presence online.
Well, there's a difference. I always say there's a difference between the traditional journalists, professional journalists, and the bloggers. And even though sometimes people sometimes cannot distinguish, but we always tell people that professional journalism is different from blogging. And most times the bloggers, they tend to, they are utilizing the space. We are not against that, but all we are saying is the space should be utilized in a professional and responsible manner. And Sludge before now has trained bloggers we continue to encourage our colleagues who are in the space to make the difference, because we can make a difference as professional journalists and be able to ensure that even those who are not professional journalists try to copy the right things from us. You know, the blogging itself is a profession. But I always say, if you want to be a blogger, there are different type of bloggers or different type of blogging people should do. But in our own case in this country, you see bloggers trying to be all over the place, not being able to distinguish which specific area of blogging they want to go into. So if you first of all make up your mind that you want to be a blogger, you first of all want to know which type of blogging you want to embark on, whether it's entertainment, whether as social issues you want to look into, whether it's political issue you want to look into. And because you're a blogger does not mean you should not be able to cross-check. And they should also know that the cyber laws are there. And even though the IMC may not be able to regulate the bloggers, that does not mean for now they should not take into cognizance that these laws, because most times when the bloggers do things, people do not sometimes distinguish
from
professional. They even come to us, oh, this is your people, because for many people, as long as they see you write or post something, they think the person is a journalist. So that's why we encourage them to be professional in their area of work. We have been training them and will continue to train them whenever the opportunity comes, so that we help them, so that even though we are utilizing the space, Sludge focuses on free speech and free media. But that does not mean that because we want the media, we want the space, we should encourage other people to misuse the space. So we continue to work with IMC to ensure that even though these laws are being reviewed now, the people are now looking at IMC to be able to even regulate the bloggers. And I want to believe that conversations are around and suggestions are coming as to what people expect of IMC to do when it comes to, you know, regulating the bloggers. Even though the IMC does not, I believe for now, there are no laws that governs the bloggers that has to do with the laws of the IMC, except for those who sometimes want to come and say journalists. But now, because they are bloggers, and that is why we always say colleagues who are journalists, who are into blogging, should do it professionally, because the laws of IMC covers media people.
Okay. All right. So just before we go for a short break now in the program, Mr. Kalon, you heard from Umu, you know, the new media, this particular media platform is becoming a thorn in the flesh for Sludge. And then part of your institutional reforms, are you also thinking about expanding your mandates to really sufficiently have them under your supervision, that they can be effectively managed insofar as their operations is concerned?
Well, let me just make one point clear. The IMC itself is Sludge. Okay? What I mean by the IMC Sludge, the very act of IMC was for a kind of self-regulatory mechanism. Okay, so the framers of the IMC law were of the opinion that by now IMC should have been transformed into self-regulatory systems completely. That is, we are saying that while people are enjoying their freedom of expression, they should not be taken to police or to other laws, but then bring them to a civil or quasi-judicial body which comprises them, so that they can manage themselves.
In the interest of press freedom?
Yes, in the interest of press freedom. So that is what is happening.
Okay.
Yes, so that at least government ensures that people enjoy their freedom of expression, particularly those in the press. Okay. And that is why you would observe that the 13 commissioners of the Independent Media Commission, the chairman is appointed in consultation with Sludge, and then Sludge nominates 2 experts in the field of print media, one of whom must be a female, 2 experts in the field of electronic media, one of whom must be a female, and 1 expert in the ICT sector. there should also be a slight permanent rep. Okay, so about 6 commissioners out of the 30, in fact 7 including the chair out of the 30 are being nominated or
courtesy of Sludge.
Yes, by courtesy of Sludge. So the idea of IMC becoming too powerful for Sludge, I don't see it. Because it is a very slight members that sits in the IMC, yes, that preside over matters dealing with the IMC. And when we say, when we say commission, we are talking about those 13 people, including the chair. The chair chairs a meeting, at every city except for other reasons. So when they sit, whatever decisions that are made with simple majority of votes of members present. Okay, so it tells you that the process itself is really transparent and democratic. And coming over to these concerns on registration of bloggers or regulation of bloggers.
Before we go for break.
Yes, the consultation is taking care of that. Okay, the recommendation 76 talks about those kinds of things of online regulation so that we could protect issues of hate speeches, misinformation and disinformation. So we have subjected those kinds of things to the consultation. It is the consultation that has recommended. So when we have the one in Freetown, we will now compile our findings and then we'll present them to the minister. But already we have seen that people have the view that INC should regulate the online space, particularly those of bloggers. But then we have to see a manageable scope because we cannot regulate bloggers all over the world. We have Sierra Leone bloggers all over the world. So what we are saying here, we have had few that have come on. For instance, Slbc TV came for registration. But we ensured they were firstly registered as a business, their name was protected by law, and they are in compliance with national laws like the tax regulation system from the NRA. You will have to be registered with it. The staff members that are working with you, they have to be registered with the social security network before the IMC can actually regulate you. So before we register or before we go to the point of providing registration for the few online media institutions that are registered with us, we ensure that they have complied with all of those provisions that are meant for the issuance of licenses.
You achieving that? Do you see that as a milestone which many Serbians are involved?
It is because it protects and sanitizes the media spaces.
Alright, continue to stay with us in the program. Is the Executive Secretary of the Independent Media Commission, IMC, and of course we also have in the studio the public relations person for the Sierra Leone Association of Sludge, and we're having a very interesting discussion here. This morning the program is going on in Sierra Leone. We'll go for a short break. We shall come back and continue the program.
As a mother of the house, whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. This is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Nkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruit and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available Brown Gold Natural Cocoa Powder, Sunny Gold Brown Sugar, Neat Fufu Flour, Shito, Pisa, and Moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise, 1 Lower Waterloo Street, Freetown.
Nkulenu palm soup base.
Ghanaian original taste.
Welcome back. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone, reaching you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation television on channel 31. You can also be part of it by sending your thoughts, your suggestions, or even comments to the number displayed on the screen as we continue the program. Yes, before we went for that break, you were talking about, of course, the online space and how you intend to really sanitize that particular platform that has been used by many Sierra Leoneans. You know, the funny thing about the online space is that, like you said, you have Sierra Leoneans across the world who are really being part of it, and so containing those in country, you also need extra powers, additional provisions to really contain those outside of Sierra Leone. But when you've been part of your consultation, your stakeholder consultation that you'll be having, and of course leading up to the one tomorrow, what are some of the thoughts that have been coming up?
Well, regulation itself is not done in isolation. That is, those you are regulating must be part of the regulatory system. So if, for instance, the act is not clear that we have bloggers, the name bloggers, then there has to be some provisions in the law where they will as well be part of the regulation system, so that decisions that are made, in their good. Yeah. So what has come up clearly in the constitution, in the consultations, are that one, there is need. That is clear in all the 4 regions that we have gone. All 4 regions have suggested that there is need for regulation of the online space in support of the tripartite recommendation 76. So the scope is now what the framers of the law and the consultation tomorrow and validation will have to take care of. How do we regulate them? Because we have also seen regulation of social media is not an easy task. And it can be easy, but not easy as well. The easy nature of it, it is in a permanent form. So issues that are broadcast or published can, as long as they are not deleted, somebody can go to it and they can retrieve it from the online space and can listen and as well read. And also the IMC is about procuring a software that will be able to monitor broadcasts as well as print and stored for 24-hour basis over 90 days. And that system procurement is underway by the international ideas. The funds were provided by the European Union. So we have seen the need for regulation, but the scope, we cannot regulate the entire social media space in Sierra Leone. For instance, those that are using WhatsApp, you can't say the IMC will be able to monitor all of them because we don't even have the capacity. We need, capacity in terms of human resources, in terms of logistics, in terms of even the housing. Where we are is not convenient for such an elaborate regulation. Yeah, but those abroad or those out of country can as well subject themselves to IMC regulation. So it's about, firstly, you comply with the national laws, because IMC will only take you on board as provided for by the IMC Act. That is, you have to be a registered business, either by sole proprietorship, either by partnership or a company. And after comply with the tax regulations, NRA and NACIT, then you come to the IMC.
I also thinking around putting together some of this legal provision that you've advanced to Parliament for that to become a statutory policy that IMC will be able to sufficiently supervise the media space. Well, Parliament was really of the opinion that IMC laws should provide for that. Okay. But maybe it was an oversight because there are no express provision. Okay. Online space is only provided in the interpretation section of the IMC Act of 2020. And that has been a bottleneck. Yes. So that is why we are very conscious to have limited access to online regulation of only registered media businesses. So if you are Slbc and you have an online platform, IMC regulates that. Similarly, so for newspapers that have online platforms, we are monitoring them. And for those few online media institutions that have come up for regulation at the IMC, like the Slbc Tv, so they are all in our system. But if we now define the broad-based online, including bloggers, then the provisions, the scope of management of all of those things will have to be defined by Parliament. Thank you very much, ES. Just that I'm really wanting to squeeze this in a little. Insofar as complaint committees sittings are concerned, have you been receiving complaints from members of the public insofar as social media postings and other things are concerned for non-registered members of the commission? We do receive complaints from non. How will you be handling that? Well, normally when we have arbitrated about 2 or 3 complaints from media institutions, from platforms of registered media institutions, we have dealt with those ones. But those that are coming out of registered media institutions, we have always replied the complainants that our law does not provide for regulation of this area. So we normally refer them to the relevant laws in the country and where they should go to seek redress. Thank you very much. Quickly over to you, Madam Piaro. And of course, insofar as these consultations are concerned, what does SLAJ really hope to see in the not too distant future after the OGV process? Now they are into the validation of this particular stakeholders consultation that the IMC is pioneering.
Well, we hope to see laws that are in the interest of the media, the journalists. We hope to see laws that will help to build the media in Sierra Leone, and that our voices, the concerns, the whatever it is that has been brought up by journalists are looked into properly, so that at the end of the day, when the law comes out, it's something that journalists embrace, journalists, the media accept as these are our laws, and we made them, we contributed to making these laws. And whatever happens at the end of the day, we take responsibility as journalists.
Thank you very much. Her name is Bakar. She is the Public Relations Officer of the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists. Thank you very much as well to the Executive Secretary for the Independent Commission, Independent Media Commission, IMC, who is Khalil Kalon, and for being part of the program. Quickly, we move to another segment in the program. In today's Health Tips, we take a look at exercise to support your brain health. Exercise is one of the most effective ways to support your brain health. In this video, we learn how physical activity boosts mood, memory, and cognition. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shannon Thompson. I'm a general pediatrician for the Cleveland Clinic Children's Hospital. What are newborn reflexes? Newborn reflexes are part of the newborn's primitive neurologic development system. Basically, when you stimulate a newborn in a certain way, they involuntarily respond to that with a certain movement or reaction. What are grasping reflexes? There are two types. One is the palmar grasp and one is the plantar grasp. The palmar grasp is when you take a finger or a small object and you put it between the baby's palm and where their fingers start to curl, and they should curl their fingers around and hold on tight. Plantar grasp is similar but in the foot. So you would take your finger or a small object and they should curl their toes around that object as well. What are the oral reflexes? The two oral reflexes are the sucking reflex and the rooting reflex. You can expect to see both at birth. The rooting reflex is when you take your finger or a nipple, or if you're breastfeeding, and you place it at the angle of the mouth. The baby should turn their head and open their mouth towards that stimulus. Sucking reflex is when you put, again, a finger or a bottle or some type of feeding device into the baby's mouth and touch the top of their palate. They should start to suck. What is the tonic neck reflex? The tonic neck reflex is also known as the fencing reflex. And what this one is if you turn your baby's head to the side, or if they do it on their own, the arm on that same side should go out to their side, and the arm on the opposite side should bend up, typically at the elbow, sometimes with that leg. What is the stepping reflex? The stepping reflex is a primitive reflex where if you hold up a young baby, typically before the age of 2 months, and gently dangle their feet or touch their feet to a table or a floor, they should start to pick them up almost as if they are walking. You sometimes see that in the delivery room when they're trying to crawl up mom to nurse or to cozy up.
All right, I believe that has been very much helpful to, of course, lactating mothers out there, and of course to our viewers who are really expecting babies in the not too distant future. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone. We come back to studio to continue the program now to another issue that has to do with faith-based institutions and of course young people building the next generation. Holiness Revival Movement Sierra Leone Chapter Youth and Campus Fellowship, a fellowship that has been training young people on morality and the full knowledge of God in truth, will be organizing its maiden National Youth Conference 2025 at the National Harmony Compound. This is a way to engage young people across the country to be efficient in nation building through the fear of God in holiness, righteousness, and truth. Well, to talk more on this particular program that is going to be organized by the Holiness Revival Movement, we've been joined in the studio by the National Youth Secretary, Pastor Israel Hudson Commander. Good morning, Pastor.
Good morning, and
good to have you in the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. So I am Adusun Israel Commander. The preacher of biblical holiness and righteousness.
All right. So quickly, let's go now deeper into the conversation. What's the significance of this particular youth retreat that you are about to organize?
Well, important in a sense. I believe when we as a nation encourage young people to engage in meaningful initiatives like this conference, we create a powerful platform for significant change in the society, which fosters a more just and harmonious society. Yeah.
All right. So, so what are the kind of people that you be catering for? I know this has a lot to do with young people. Or what specific young people are you targeting insofar as this program is concerned? Is it those that are Christians, or I mean, just those in the Holiness Revival movement?
So, first of all, Holiness Revival movement is a non-denominational based ministry, and which makes it very open to everyone. And so we not just catering for youths within the Holiness Revival movement, but for a nation as large. And because we know if we cater for youths across the country, we just help and promote righteousness and truth within our nation. So largely the gospel of Christ is for everyone, and which includes Christians, non-Christians, because he brought salvation. He doesn't brought religion. And because of salvation, the salvation gospel is for everyone. I mean, the Bible says in St. John chapter 3 verse 16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever, to underline the word whosoever, means everyone. And so everyone. So the program is for every citizen, every youth. Yes,
certainly so, and I believe that begs the question, Pastor Commander. We are all aware of the turbulence time.
Yes,
I mean, we currently find our nation, Sierra Leone, you know, a lot of the abuse of drug by young people, and of course substance abuse across the country. That has really been a turning issue that the country is really grappling with. How will this particular conference speak to vices like that and to help young people to come out from such vices?
So we've been organizing an event like this over the years, and I think these are one of the people to targeting. So I remember in my capacity by then I served as the youth leader for West Chapter. So we've brought in programs wherein we go to normally take most of these youths, hire buses, and take them to the campground to ensure we, give them an alternative livelihood. In a sense, try to bring them to, because to me, every human being have a purpose in life, and God is the one that bring that purpose to life. And so bringing these youths to God, revealing the truth to them, telling them their purpose of life, and then it will change their whole perspective about life, that they need to buckle up and see how best they can engage in meaningful things that will bring benefits to their life and the society as a whole.
Alright, Pastor Kamala, you've been a youngster yourself. Just before you come into the program that is going to be taking place at Orimo compound itself, let's speak a bit further. You've been a youngster yourself. We see how it is becoming very, very obvious that young people are really losing it. There is the saying that the young people of the nation, they are the future of every nation. But with the current space of things, do you foresee young people working towards that path?
So I want to be positive as a Christian, because the Bible says life and death lies in the power of the tongue. But I will foresee a better Sierra Leone. But then it all boils down to our cooperation as a nation to see how best we can work hard to uplift this youth.
And on that note, do you really see that the church has played sufficient role in so far as making that happen?
Well, quite have been happening in the past, but I think we need to do more to ensure, because of the alarming rates of this drug abuse you're talking of, and other things that are happening in the country. So we need to do more as a church and as a nation, because it's a national problem as a whole. So I think it's a collective endeavor.
Now to the program, the Bible says that of course righteousness exalts a nation, but sin of course is a reproach to every people. Now that your program is tied around preaching holiness, truth, righteousness, and of course morality, what's the high point of this program? What is it going to really be given to young people as they attend this particular program? I think it's going to happen at Orimo Compound.
Yes, sir. Okay. At our national campground, number 1 Holiness Lane, off Mission Street, Waterloo. So, good question though. So there are a whole lot of benefits that are coming out of this program. First, I will talk about, because gathering youth across the nation, you want to instill some godly values in them. So first, I'll talk of accountability. We as believers, we have this notion that whatever role or responsibility we hold within the society, it is a reflection of God's divine purpose for our life. And in that sense, we are not just accountable to the people that's given us those responsibilities or appoint or selected us. We also have this consciousness that we are accountable to God. So in set light, we want to do our best to ensure we give our all in whatever capacity. So bringing youth, I think one of the most things we want to teach them is instilling in them godly values that will help them become patriotic citizens and ensure they give their best in serving their nation, ensuring that they're not just serving their nation as a nation, but they're also serving God.
If you say yes, what sort of package is there for young people aside giving them the word of God?
Well, of course, the word of God entails everything, and which I don't want to deviate from. But then within the word of God, it teaches you how to be godly, of course. The program was just based on our earthly benefit as Christians, because the Bible says, if in this world only we have hope in Christ Jesus, we have all men most miserable. Of course, the first goal for the conference is heaven, but after which we want to ensure also that there are a lot of professionals that are coming around. Of course, we want to teach these youth how to develop themselves and ensure they work hard to cater for themselves and be better citizens in the nation.
He is Pastor Israel Otsin Commander, National Secretary of the Holiness Revival Movement, talking here to us about their upcoming convention for young people. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone. We take up now, that will lead us into our last and final edition segment in the program, which has to do with the review of the front pages of our local tablet. And for that, I begin with obvious reasons. The Standard Times newspaper, it opens with an headline, 3 pharmacists under investigation, drug mismanagement. City Council mobilized 1,000 youths, flood prevention initiative. Our story you can find on the front page of the Standard Times newspaper. My next pick is the Awoko newspaper. It opens with a headline and it says, Soviet champions long-term investments and innovation to boost agriculture. Sierra Leone Brewery Limited enters new era as SBG takes the end. We can't feed our families. Salpost workers strike over 8 months on paid salaries as Air France exits cripples revenue. Facing the realities, World Bank reports sparks honest conversation on Sierra Leone's agriculture, and Tripartite Secretariat and Office of the Attorney General holds national dialogue on the preferred electoral system for Sierra Leone today, Thursday 17th July 2025 at Bintumani, Freetown, International Conference Center in Freetown, I beg your pardon. And my last pick happens to be the Congo Times newspaper, and it has a banner headline, the unfinished business of the TRC. Robots Kenema empowers SLPP Kenema party office. Dr. Ibrahim Bangura and the test of APC future. IOM government and partners validate national migration framework. UNFPA DSTI partner launch nursing and midwifery digital platform. Our stories you can find on the front page of the Congo Times newspaper, which happens to be my final paper for today's newspaper review. But quickly, I must remind our esteemed viewers that the views or sentiments shared on these newspapers are not necessarily the views of the SLBC. Quickly over to you, Pastor Commander, even as we go, what will really be, your part in short, what will you encourage young people with to really be part of this all important convention?
So it's important, in a sense, let them come. There's a lot to expect. First of all, salvation, which is the most important gift a man can have in life. But then overall, I think if we create a culture that prioritizes godliness, we not just we'll have a society that will shape the next generation of youth and becoming a meaningful
Finally, when is this convention?
So the program is slated for the 7th, 8th and 9th of August. Yeah,
thank you very much. He's Pastor Israel Otsin Commander from the Holiness Revival movement, and that's where we're going to be cutting into this edition of the program Good Morning Sierra, which came to you from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation television on Channel 31. But quickly before we go, a reminder of our quote of the day, which came from a Greek author, Aesop, and it says, "The level of our success is limited only by our imagination." And that is, of course, as always, a food for thought. If you dream big, you live big, and you live beyond your imagination. Good morning, Sierra Leone returns tomorrow. This program was produced by Daphne Zena Kamara. On behalf of the production team here at Broadcasting House in England, I'm Dennis Fraser. Have a splendid day. Keep watching.
Thank you.